Hello, this is Ty Types. My name is Ty, and welcome to the end of year and new year reflection video for this channel. If you haven't seen yet, and if you don't know, I have a second channel, which is my main channel, where I already have done some prepping for 2026. And if you watch that video, you'll find out, probably, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this year I do want to focus more on my writing, and so I decided to make a video for this channel to discuss the things I want to work on my writing for the year 2026. If I look down, it's because I have some notes written down. So let's get into what I would like to do this following year. So my broad goal is to finish 2 full drafts of a novel, which for me is quite ambitious because I've only completed 1 draft, which you can see me finishing in my other video, which I will put up on screen here. Basically, that's my only other video on this channel since it's quite new, but I want to be able to write 2 drafts. And the thing is that draft took me probably like a year and like 2 months, which basically is a lot more than 6 months, which is what it would take for me to write 2 drafts in 1 year. It would be 6 months per draft. Apologies for the very loud washing machine noises in the background. So as you can see, this goal is pretty ambitious for what I have planned for next year. However, I would still like to try. Also, I didn't really write consistently in the time that it took me to write that draft. So I know that if I do write consistently, then I'll be able to make much more progress than I did last year and the year before that in reality as well, because I did start the draft 2024 actually. So as for an explanation, I think I already know probably what 2 drafts I want to work on. I want to first of all make a second draft of the project that I was already working on, and also to create a new draft of a brand new project. Now, as for a little deep dive on what I'm planning for each novel that I want to work on. So first of all, there's the one which I have already completed the first draft of. Now that one I still need to get printed because I would like a physical copy for me and my mom to read through so that I can reach some conclusions before actually starting the second draft, which in fact I will be replotting before I actually start the second draft as well. So some things that I would like to work on would be, first of all, like that I want to change the starting scene, especially for one of my POVs. This is a dual POV book of a normal girl who lives in London. She's a student in university, and then second POV is actually of an elf because the story is centered around elves and things like that. So one thing that I want to fix in this next draft, so basically in that POV with the elves, basically the first chapter in that POV is basically the inciting incident, which like I do have something else plotted as my inciting incident, but this also kind of counts as it. I'm not sure which one would be considered as it, but I would like to add maybe 1 or 2 chapters before the scene that I decided to start with when I was doing draft 1. Also, things like descriptions of like environments I was not very good with. Near the end, in general, my writing improved a lot, but I want to be able to work on that a bit more, especially in like the first half of the draft. It was not very good, I'm gonna be honest. Also, my first POV, the other POV, not the elven one, she also gets thrown into the plot quite early on, and I want to be able to allow the reader to like get introduced to her family, get used to like her normal day-to-day life before the story actually kicks in. Also, something else is that I was severely underwriting everything. Again, near the end my writing started to improve and I managed to write probably 1,500 word scenes near the very end, or like maybe even a bit near to 2,000, which is much better because before I think I used to do like 1,000 word, maybe a bit less chapters, and so I actually ended up with a draft of around 40,000 words only, which obviously is not ideal. Basically, this is gonna sound a bit like a big jump, but I'm hoping to be able to move that from 40,000 to 80,000 words, which is a full-on doubling my word count, which I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to be able to do that, but I will be adding some scenes, so maybe that will help. Also, I will be completely rewriting for draft 2. I won't be going back and editing things. I'm starting fresh. I might, for example, look through the scene that I am going to be redrafting before I do that, and just to make sure that if I want to keep even a line or two that I can. But mainly I'm going to be completely writing this from scratch once again, but hopefully with a better idea of what I want to do with it, and also with better maybe writing skill, hopefully. In reality, that's about all I have planned for this second draft, which I'm not sure the order that I'm going to be putting these two in. I think I'm probably going to start with this second draft that I just spoke about, because I still am pretty excited to head into draft 2. Being honest, I'm excited to start the read through and the process of editing that. However, as I said, there is a second draft that I want to be working on, which I believe that I know which project it's going to be, because I was planning on actually shelving the project that I just talked about before I actually decided that I was going to continue and write draft 2 quite soon after I finished the first draft. And I was going to work on this. It's basically, and I don't have a lot plotted for it, but to give you something in short without giving too much, things could change, and also I don't want to share too much about my projects on here. Basically, as of like a small summary of like what the book is going to be about, without spoiling too much, there's going to be 3 main characters who I will put up on the screen, and these 3 girls, basically they have 50 days to bring their community together, because they live in a world where there's a lot of fighting and disorganization. They have no sense of leadership or a system, so everything is just chaos, and they have 50 days to organize that. There is some more depth to that, but I'm not going to explain for now. For example, with the project that I have finished the draft of, the original idea for it was much different. It's basically kept its like main idea from the POV of my first POV, the university student, which, by the way, just to introduce you to them, the university student, her name is Lilac, and then the elf is named Cynxia, which, yes, that is a made-up name. But basically, I have already started on this new idea. I have made a Pinterest board, as well as made the characters on Artbreeder, as you have already seen. Now, basically, obviously, as I have already sort of touched on, I want to be able to plot this in depth. I might go with a bit of a different plotting strategy than I have with my previous project. Now, last time I used the 3-act story structure. I basically, if you know Abby Emmons from YouTube, she's a very popular creator who like makes writing content with writing tips, and I basically followed that structure from like her playlist that she has. However, this time I think I might go with the Save the Cat structure. I want to be able to try it and see if I like it, and hopefully that will go well. It seems pretty similar to what I've done last time, but I'll just try it out to see how I feel about that. As I have been saying, then I will actually take on the task of writing the first draft of the novel, and hopefully I will feel more confident than I did with my previous one, since for the majority of the draft I did not feel confident in my writing. But now that I have a full draft under my belt, I hope that I will be able to actually have a smoother experience with this draft and have a cleaner first draft that maybe I will be able to keep more than 1 or 2 lines from when I actually hopefully end up doing the second draft. Now obviously these things may change. I have a project idea, so I might end up doing one of those instead. Depends how it goes. I'm not really strict on project being the one that I work on, but I might do that since I was already planning on working on it before I decided to also write the second draft of my original novel. But basically that's what I have to say for this video. It might be a bit short, but thank you so much for watching until the end. I really hope that you enjoyed and that this motivated you to set some writing goals for the year to come. I hope to see you next time. God bless you all and have a nice rest of your week. Bye bye.